From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey, everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of amazing ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. In this podcast, I talk to my good friend, Warren Laine-Naida, about two books that have come out that he's published. One is a revision, his book, SEO, All You Need to Know, the 7-Step Guide for Beginners. And it's the second edition. And he's got another amazing book called Digital Skills for Smart Seniors. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation that Warren and I had. This podcast is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing agency for all your business needs. We are also your WordPress security experts, having over 14 years of experience locking down, backing up, and protecting WordPress websites. Go to stunningdigitalmarketing.com for more info or stunningdigitalmarketing.info for links to everywhere we can be found on the web. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And in today's podcast, I'm here with my good friend, Warren Laine-Naida, marketing author extraordinaire, just to put that out there. How are you today, Warren?
I'm good. Thank you, Rob Cairns.
You're funny. I deserve that. I corrected myself. So you've been on the show before. We've talked about your books before. I've wrote the intro for one of your books that you did with Bridget, which was such a pleasure. But today we're going to talk about two other books. And I thought we'd jump into your SEO book first, called SEO, All You Need to Know, the 7-Step Guide for Beginners. And it's available on Amazon by you. And this is the third edition.
It is.
Why did you do a new edition, Warren?
SEO changes every week, it seems. There's something new. And the book was mainly for beginners, so we wanted to get it out there. So obviously there's a lot of things it's not covering. And so, we're upping it each quarter. We also use it for a textbook for our SEO course that we teach for a company here in Berlin. And it's a 4-week course. So that covers everything. And now we're using it as a textbook. So what we like to do is, when we have learnings from the course, and there's always a couple of things, we like to get that into the book. And so, we update it every quarter. And it gets bigger.
I would say if you have the second edition of the book, which I do, and I've read the third edition, of course, go get the third one. It's worth the upgrade, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think is the biggest change in SEO in the last 6 months or year?
It's still content. I mean, SEO has always been words, nothing else. Everything else is just, lipstick. But in the last 6 months, content. We've had the Google helpful content update, and we've got AI. So now people are just, with the click of a button, getting 1,000 words and sticking it up there. So, it's a real challenge. I don't think really much has changed. I still think it's, you've got to have good content. You've got to find content that the people are looking for. But I think the challenge is now more, so what do we do as SEOers? How do we use these new tools and new updates?
Yeah, and you beat me to the word AI. It's hard to do a marketing or a tech podcast without mentioning those two letters anymore, like honestly. And what I would say to you is, I think AI is a tool, but my concern in SEO spaces is how is Google going to, with the rules around duplicate content, going to handle AI? Because sooner or later, AI is going to start putting out duplicate content, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, I'm not a I don't have any problem with duplicate content. You
Okay.
know, it's like you say the same thing 3 times within a space of an hour, and different people are going to hear it each time. So
Mhm.
I've written about why duplicate content is actually a good thing. But if we're talking, literal duplicate content and no one checking it, then of course this is a problem. They just had the Google search days in Tokyo. I think it was in Tokyo. It was in Japan, and AI was a big topic, and Google said, look, and I think this is important. They said we don't really care about who wrote it. It could be AI, it could be you, it could be your mom, it could be your dog. That's not important. What's important is that it's quality, useful content, and I think that's important. You know, eventually, yeah, I guess probably we'll be all out of a job when it comes to writing. But we've lost jobs in the past, you
Yeah.
know. So I think, and I've talked about this before, and I think it's really it's very important that we shouldn't see AI as a problem. We should see this as maybe a little wake up call.
Mhm.
And I think the basics when it comes to any sort of marketing, SEO, online, offline, doesn't really matter, is if you know your audience and you are delivering content for your audience,
Yeah.
um, you're always going to win. And if you serve them by getting AI into the mix, you're still serving them, and that's important. If you don't, and you're still serving them, it still gets down to serving them. So I think I'm not so worried about AI. It's just a tool. You know, people were freaking out when the typewriters were replaced with the computer, and we're still here.
Mhm.
You know,
I agree. It's the same as the printing press. It's the same as page
yeah,
builders in the press ecosystem, and so
it's not
on.
the
So
tool; it's what you do with it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. Now, I think it's funny. I was looking at a website the other day, a mature website, and the biggest SEO mistake I saw was there was no alt tags on any of the pictures. And this is a picture centric website. And it's like, why are we in 2023 still putting out websites without alt pictures? For one, for SEO, but two, for accessibility. Like the two things, you know, I think accessibility actually makes you do SEO better, in my opinion. But thoughts?
It does. You're serving people, you're doing useful, helpful things for them. And that's another thing, if rather than complain about how AI is going to take your SEO, then look at the SEO things that you're not doing, that AI isn't doing, and do those things, because no one has an SEO perfect website. No one has a perfect marketing. No one has a perfect product. There's always a way to improve it. And, AI is just maybe your other competitor. Okay, so your competitor is making your product. Well, what are they not doing in your product that you can focus on and do better? Is always going to be something.
Yeah. Is competitors' research today still more relevant than ever?
I think this is really important. Yeah, and I mean, you could again look at your competitor. Like, are they using AI content? Okay, then create better content. You know, I think it's still really important. Yeah, if you've got the time for it and the resources, yeah, this is always good. Find out how your competitors are not serving people, how people are unhappy, and for sure.
Yeah. And the other thing you talked about in the book was landing pages. And you and I have talked about them before, like to a big extent. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people miss the boat on landing pages. I really do. A landing page should have one call to action. I personally believe a landing page shouldn't have any headers or any footers on them.
Mm, yeah.
They should force the person or the viewer to do that call to action. I was having a discussion with a colleague on a landing page yesterday, and he said, I'm going to put a video on my landing page. And I said, how much is your product worth? He said, $99. And I said, don't do it.
Mhm.
I'm one of those people who believe unless it's a high-end fruit product, that a video shouldn't go on a landing page, on the main page. What are
Okay.
what are your thoughts on that?
I I don't mind the video. um, but I don't, there is no place on a landing page for a 60-second video or a 120-second video. A 3-second video, a 12-second video, a 15-second video. It, you know, there's storytelling. There's like, oh, there's a video, and we're going to look at it. There's something, that a picture isn't going to tell. People aren't going to read. Oh, there's a video. So if it gets the attention and it's useful, if it helps you, then sure. I've got a 20-second video on my landing page, and I'm thinking, yeah, that may be a little too long, but I'm going to try to squish it down, but that's okay.
I get that. I've got a new website, and I'm one of your students. Okay. And by the way, too bad you're not in Berlin, where you can go take one of Warren's courses. So go buy the book. That's the next best thing they get. What are the 3 things I should do right away to help my SEO? And I think the first one is, let's get Yoast to make sure all our traffic lights are green, right?
I mean, Yoast is fine. I don't think you should be a slave to Yoast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times when you're not going to get green traffic lights, but Yoast reminds you. Yoast is like, these are the things you should be doing. Can you do them? Great. Are they not relevant to you? Okay, fine. I think, the most important thing is, yeah, you've got to have a tool. You need to have some help. This is one thing. And Yoast also connects with that sort of second thing that's important, is that without doing anything, you've got a sitemap.xml,
Mhm.
so that you connect with your Google Search Console. That's
Mhm.
the second, really important thing. So you get the tool, you connect it, because that Google Search Console is going to give you so much information. It's going to show you the keywords, search phrases that people are using. It's going to show you which pages are showing and not being clicked. And it'll show you if you're improving or if you're not. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
And it also, I mean, oddly enough, I mean, Yoast does this, Rank Math does this, All-in-One SEO does this, but I prefer Yoast. Is that it's going to keep you connected with Google. It's going to ping. When you update content, it's going to ping Google.
Mhm.
So your sitemap is always updated, and Google's always there. And I think, and this is really important, because what a lot of people maybe don't know or forget or whatever, is that just because your page is indexed in Google today does not mean it's going to be indexed tomorrow. you
That's
know
correct.
Google puts them up, they take them down, so it keeps you, it keeps you on top of things. And I think that's, if we were just going to say 3 important things, to get you started, these will keep you very busy, not to mention all the other things you need to do, because you got to be found,
Yeah.
and you've got to be able to measure this findability. I think this is very, very important.
Yeah. I think the real one of the biggest keys in SEO, especially if you're going after local, is make sure you get your Google. I was going to say Google My Business page, but it's not. It's Google Business
Business
Profile.
profile.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to correct myself. Set up. I think that makes all the difference in the world. It's now managed through Google Maps, which is really
Yeah.
interesting. They've made that change. But I think if you're any kind of brick and mortar business, you better get one of those up, because I think that's one of your biggest wins possible out there. What do you think?
It's 100%. You've got to have this. If you don't have this, you're not going to be showing up in maps very well. And it's free, and you can do everything. You can put your products in there. You've got your reviews. You've got your posts. It creates automatically from all the content, a website. So you get a free website.
Yeah.
You don't even need to have hosting. Um, You can connect local landing pages. So, connecting with landing pages here. It's all, Google Business Profile has this little click website. And I don't know why, but everyone connects it to their homepage. Why? unless your homepage is specifically for local. But you probably have a page, hopefully a landing page, where you're talking, very local to your customers, and that's the page that you should be connecting to that website. Most people don't do that. And Bing has Bing Places.
I was
Now,
going to go there.
yeah, Bing. You got to have Bing. Why not? Because Google's been great the last 20 years, but Bing's got the real AI in there. They've got the pictures. They've got they can tell you all about me. And I try that on Chat GPT, and they say, "No, I'm sorry, we have no information about Warren Laine-Naida." So I think people might be. I'm more connected with Bing than I was before this all started.
Mhm.
And that was one of the first things I noticed is, I don't have a Bing place. And so why not? They have maps. I mean, their search machine. Maybe one day, Bing rises from the ashes. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you got to watch what's going on in the cell phone market too right now. I mean,
Yeah.
there was some talk for a while that Samsung was going to ditch Google search on their cell phones. Now that's kind of gone by the wayside because somebody reminded Samsung and said, and by the way, if you ditch Google search, you can't play in the Google Play Store. So, they got undiplomatically brought back. But I mean, sooner or later, it's going to happen where somebody's going to say, I'm not running Google search. I'm going to run Microsoft search, and which is based on something other platform. And then the reality is Bing Places will become more important. So I think we need to think about that.
I think so. Why not? Every little bit helps.
No, I agree. So let's jump around a little bit into your second book, which I absolutely love, Warren, called Digital
thank you.
Skills Smart Seniors. I've read it a couple times. The first senior I went and bought the book for was my own mother. I will admit that candidly, and I've recommended it to a couple people who are either caregivers or help their parents or that kind of thing. Because the biggest problem I think we have in today's world is senior citizens are way too trusting, and that's why I think a book like this is important. What do you think?
Well, I'll play the devil's advocate, and my biggest problem is the term senior citizen.
Yep.
Because we've got this group, we've got kids, we've got teenagers, and we've got young adults, old adults, and you've usually got 10 to 15 year periods for each of these groups. Then you say seniors. Well, I am almost a senior, really close, within a year or two. You too. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, my father is also a senior. Yeah, I mean, so senior citizens is basically anyone. If you remember the Freedom 55 commercials that I remember as a kid. So let's say anyone between 60 and 90, so 30 years. That's like saying everyone from a toddler to, I don't know, middle management. They're all the same demographic, and that's exactly what we do. We talk about seniors. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's so is one of my best friends is 64 years old and turned 65 in September, and she says to me, "I'm going to be a senior this year." And I said, "Well, how do you feel?" Like, it's more how you feel than the number. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But going back to the book for a sec, what I was going to say was, I know you said digital skills for smart seniors. The title could have been very well digital skills for anybody. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as criticism. I mean that very positive. I read through this book, and I've spent a long time educating kids how to behave online, educating adults how to behave. I don't know if a day goes by where I don't get an email from somebody saying, "What do I do with this email I got? What do I do with this proposal I got?" But I want to dive into a couple specifics. You spend a lot of time in here talking about dating websites, which I find Very ironic. And I'm going to go there for fun because you and I don't know if we had this conversation ahead of time, but one of the things you didn't touch on, and I found really interesting, you touched on ways to protect yourself, was get yourself a VoIP phone number or disposable phone number or something so you don't give out your real phone number until trust is built. How's that for an idea, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is definitely a good idea. I mean, so when I put this book together, I had come up with a 7 course program for seniors before Corona hit, and
Yep.
we were offering it at the community college, and then Corona hit, and that was it. So I had all this material. I thought it's just sitting here. So I get it into this book, and so everything revolves around these. But as you very rightly point out, it could be for anyone who doesn't have digital skills. We assume it's seniors because everyone else should have it, yeah. But I mean, even my father is quite competent because people in their 60s and 70s, they built the internet. So I mean, if we're talking about people without experience, maybe it's the people in their 80s who just never needed to work with computers. um and I also, similar to the SEO book, I guess, I didn't want to get it too complicated. And with things like, yeah, like I tell my students, make sure you have a Google Mail for all of these things you're signing up for and these tools you're using, so you don't have to have spam mail. And exactly, if you're going to be doing dating and things, you need a burner number, you need a generic email address that no one's going to be bothering you. You need to not tell them where you live. You need to take a friend with you, or at least let a friend know. So I could say a lot more about it, but
Yeah.
you're very right there. uh but yeah, I wanted to put the dating thing in because uh I don't know, I mean, if you're a senior in your 60s or even your 70s, you still want to socialize. You could still be sexually active. And I think I was reminded of this by Bridget Willard. Yeah. And Bridget and I had written a lot of articles for Senior Life magazine. And we had talked about dating. And Bridget had mentioned that there was a rise in sexually transmitted diseases in many old age homes in the states. And I'm thinking, how, why, what? It's just, well, these people, they're like, they were hippies and they're still hippies, and this can possibly happen. So you're thinking, oh my god. And I thought I'd have to put something about dating because it's part of socialization. You're probably going to date someone. Maybe you're not active with them, but you're certainly going to want to meet people and spend time with them, because we're retired for a very long time, crazily
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. And I like the fact that you focus on simple things. A lot of people older in life are by themselves and they don't cook as much. So ordering on food is a big option for them and things like that. I was so glad you focused on that stuff.
I think that's one of the things, if when it comes to tech, um, we're so often focused on it as a tool for work. And
Mhm.
it does offer a lot of advantages for those sorts of daily things. And again, I mean, we're retired and we don't have any distractions like school or parents or any of these things that kept us going through high school, these 20 years of our lives. We have to
Yeah.
occupy ourselves for 20 years of retirement. So uh, tech can be fun. We can use uh, personal assistants, we can use the internet, we can use apps, we can once in a while, let's try to have something delivered to our door, let's use an online recipe. There's all these sorts of things just to make the days a little more interesting when we have so many of them. yet to live, and we're not working.
So true. And one of the things I really like you touched on was the doorbell camera debate in the book. You said, should you get one? Shouldn't you get one? I should tell you, I'm a big proponent of getting one,
I
and
think
I'll,
it's a good
I'll tell
idea.
I'll tell you why. My best friend, who was talking about earlier, 64, she turned 65. She retired as a teacher, as
Okay.
35 odd years as a teacher, and you're a teacher, so you get that. And she retired, and my retirement to gift to her was a high-end video doorbell. And
Okay.
no sooner did the video doorbell go in than one day some guy buzzed on her door. She was not at home. She answered the doorbell on her smartphone, right? And
Hmm.
said, I'm really busy. I don't have time. If you want to leave a note by the door. Whoever it was walked away, and the house 5 doors down was broken into, not hers.
Mm,
That alone is a compelling reason. In today's day is
yeah.
security. I would get one of those without even thinking about it.
Yeah. I th- for me, something like a doorbell. This is, I mean, a smart home. Most of us cannot afford a smart home.
Yeah.
We can't afford all the schnick-schnacks. Maybe it's not even supported where we are, but we can do little things so that we have this access. We have this access
Yeah.
to tech and smart. And I think a doorbell is really good
Yeah.
because it's kind of cool that we can see it, and maybe we're on the other side of the city, and it gives us protection. And it can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. I think there's one of the ones is on Amazon. It's it sells all over the place. So it's that, yeah, I have a smart home, without walking in and having robots control all the lights and the blinds. So there's little things, and I think that's important then, because, and I think why it's seniors and not everyone, this book, is because if you're not using tech, if you don't have the affinity, if you're not comfortable with tech, you're going to be closed out. And our world is painfully quick to be in-exclusive. And so any little thing that someone who perhaps earlier did not have access to, if they can say, oh, look, I've got this includes you, it gives you a topic of conversation, you're able to socialize. And I think then it you're not going to sort of close yourself off. You're part of everything that's happening here.
Well,
um, I think seniors possibly can suffer from that more than any other generation.
I
That
agree. And the big place I see the change is the library. Have you walked into a library lately and you realize the library's not just books anymore? They have ebooks, they have audiobooks, they have
yeah.
all kinds of courses. I know the Toronto libraries have ties into places like lynda.com and many
Mm,
US newspapers. Like I read the Washington Post every day and I don't pay for it because I get it through the library. So
yeah.
there's all kinds of advantages. But if you're not a little tech savvy, how do you sit down and navigate even the library anymore? You just can't, right?
Yeah, or yeah, I mean, everything is, you go into a store, you get in a bus, everything has some sort of tech. And I mean, I use tech every day, but there's still instances where I'm standing there and I'm thinking, what do you want me to do? And the attitude from the cashier is, oh, here's some old guy who doesn't know what to do. It's like, no, honestly, like, you've changed your whole system. So where like where am I supposed to swipe? What am I supposed to do? And but the assumption is that we all know it. And so, I mean, if it's bothersome for me sometimes, it must be very, very scary for people, who go someplace where they expect, like you say, the library or community center or a bus or a store, and suddenly, where's the cash register? Where's the person? Where are the books? How do I now read things? um
I was
and yeah.
I was in a drugstore last night, and the drugstore where I am, Shoppers Drug Mart, they have a cashier if you push the bell, and then they've gone to all these self checkouts now,
I
which
love
makes
those.
Well, I do and I don't, except there was an older gentleman who didn't want to wait, and he kind of looked at me and said, "Can you help me with this?" And I took 5 minutes and ran him through whatever he had to do. And he said, "That's not so bad when you have help." And I said, "I know. They got to explain this stuff to people. They make the assumption that we can
Mm.
do it." And by the way, if you want lottery tickets, if you want to use a coupon, you're not using the self checkout anyway. So it's just,
Yeah, that's exactly the problem we have here. Some of the stores, as part of the process, it then says, "Do you have any coupons or your point card?" But some of the stores don't. And then you're thinking, oh no, I've used the self checkout and now I can't collect my points. I can't use my coupons, and it's too late because you just run everything through. But you know, as you say, now but this is learning,
yes.
and can be very frustrating, I think, for some people who they just want to do things how it used to be.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to circle back around to is your chapter around e-learning, which I think is really important. You
Hmm.
talked about in the book. And where I think e-learning became prominent was during COVID. Like, let's be
Oh
honest, a
yeah.
lot of schools went
Oh yeah.
online. There were teachers who had been teaching for 20 years scrambling because they don't understand tech the way you and I do. I won't tell you the number of phone calls I fielded from people in the teaching community saying help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get frustrated, and depending on the board, it changed from Teams to Google Meet to there's now a move in the Ontario boards. They're going away from Google Classroom to a self-derived system for e-learning, and the teachers are just cringing their heads saying why, and it just goes on. And e-learning's become such a big part of our life, even for non-seniors, that we take it for granted, right?
Yeah. 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 I mean, long before COVID came, we had these massive online open courses, and I was involved in developing some of these for with some colleagues. And but I mean, everyone did the Coursera courses or Udemy courses. This is fine, and I think really very useful.
Mhm.
And Google offers a lot of these courses, and many of them are free. So I think this is really helpful. But then when COVID came along, yeah, we were all online, and everywhere I teach has their own system.
Yeah.
Um, and now some of the places remain online, some have gone back to the classroom, but some now, just to make it, more interesting, some are hybrid. So
Um,
you're in the classroom, but some students are actually at home, so you've got this constant pirouetting, and you have to come up with activities where the offline people can work together with the online people. And I would prefer one or the other. Hybrid is I find a bit of a challenge,
yeah.
but I do prefer, I really like the in person. I like that old school way of teaching. And if someone needs help, even something basic like, oh, my mouse isn't working, you can deal with it and you can switch to a whiteboard or whatever. You don't have to stop everything and then, okay, move to the left, okay, unplug your computer. I mean, it just becomes some sort of tech support in the middle of the teaching. And that's, I think, a challenge for everyone.
No, I agree with you. I have another good friend of mine out on the East Coast, Jeff Brown. He's a workplace education trainer in Nova Scotia, and
Okay.
he does about 75 to 80% of his classes online right
Hmm.
now after the switch, and they're just starting to reintroduce some in-person ones. And he's like you. He really likes the in-person teaches.
Yeah.
I know my friend Leslie, who I was talking about, who retired in teaching, the minute she had the opportunity to go back into the classroom she was in, because she rather, especially with kids, would rather be in the classroom and not. And these are tough times. I mean, I think online e-learning provides something, but you can still feel isolated and by yourself, right, to some
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. On one hand, it gives you access to skills and knowledge that you otherwise wouldn't have. A lot of people, They're either where they're living or how they're living or their mobility issues. And this is incredibly good. But I think we've all experienced, taking an online course and then actually having a relevant question or a problem, and good luck getting that answered.
Yeah, I know.
And not just from silly little Udemy, like Coursera courses, university courses, Google courses, where you're on the clock and something is, it's a glitch. There's something not working, and who do you ask? And if you were in a classroom, you would go, excuse me, there is something not working here. But if you're online, it's like, oh, you have 30 seconds left to answer this question. It's like the question's not showing on the screen. Hello, help, help, and you're out. That question
Yeah,
is now wrong. It's like, I didn't get a chance to answer it.
so true.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I really appreciate you talking about your books. It's always fun. What are you working on next? You're writing a new book. I know you're updating some older titles. What's going on in the author department?
Yeah. Well, Bridget Willard's and my 3 books, the online marketing books, we just updated the small business one, which you were great enough to write the introduction for. Next month, we'll have the update of the online marketing book for nonprofits.
Awesome.
And then in August, the online marketing book for schools. So those will then be recovered. They'll be updated because they're all 2 years old. So all, updates with SEO and Google and things, that'll all be up there. The SEO book, the SEO book won't be in the next edition until September. So yeah, to be honest, I feel really that I've done 14 books in the last 3 years, and I don't know. It's like I don't have the urge to write anything at the moment. But circling back to SEO, where I am trying to focus my time now, is I'm trying to look at all of the content that I've created, and I'm trying to focus on, from this content, what is actually useful, and what can I take from that and package for people that where I can measure the usefulness. Because I think that's something, we've all been doing SEO, keywords, everything is fine and dandy. But I think going forward, if we want to really, challenge the superiority of our AI masters, we are going to have to be able to create content where we can measure the return on investment. So I think it means really doubling down and saying, my great content, what's really great about this, and throwing the rest out.
No,
So
I agree.
that's sort of my focus for the rest of this year, I think. Yeah.
I so agree with it. Warren, thanks for your time as always. And
Thank you, Rob.
you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. And you too. Enjoy the Ontario summer.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing agency for all your business needs. We are also your WordPress security experts, having over 14 years of experience locking down, backing up, and protecting WordPress websites. Go to stunningdigitalmarketing.com for more info, or stunningdigitalmarketing.info for links to everywhere we can be found on the web. A very special thank you to my good friend Warren Laine-Naida for joining me on this edition of the STM Show. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. I love you, and I think about you every day. For more information about Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing experts, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.com or go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info to find out all the great places that Rob Cairns can be found on the web.